welcome back to my channel. Today I am just going to be talking a little bit about nostalgic reads and how special nostalgia is to me. So first of all, today is my birthday, and that is my favorite day of the entire year, and it stems from always feeling super nostalgic on this day. I also really enjoy Christmas for the same reason. Um, my mom was amazing at making things special, and so when I can find something that brings me back to a time in my life that makes me remember those special times, I love it. So birthdays are like that, and Christmas is like that. And because I love books so much, books can be that way too. And while I've never been one to reread books, I am really enjoying doing that during this read-a-thon because it really is just taking me back. So, but even though I've never reread books, I also have books that I have read in the past that I remember the stories, and when I look at them, they bring me good memories. So I have a few books here that I'm just going to talk about, tell you a little bit about why they make me feel nostalgic, and yeah, maybe give you some recommendations of books that you may not have read yet. And these are some of my favorite. First of all, I want to talk about my reading for this week. So if you're watching this video, I am assuming that you are joining in on the nostalgic Re-Read-A-Thon that we are doing. I'm so happy to have you joining in. I have been planning this all year because I just thought it would be a really fun time to look back at some books that I've loved. And I think it's exciting to have people do that along with me. So I'm going to just kind of give you some thoughts on the books that I'm rereading, and I hope that you'll do the same in the comments below. Okay, so first of all, I am not rereading this one. This is the first time I've ever read this. This was the book that I picked for the prompt, choose one of your friends' favorite books. This is My Side of the Mountain, and so far I am really enjoying it. I'm not really sure. This was written in the 50s, and this young man has run away from home, and he is living on the land, which I don't find incredibly realistic, but I guess it could happen. I haven't gotten very far, so my question is, why aren't his parents more worried? And why haven't they gone to look for him? Because he literally told them exactly where he was going. And yeah, so far I know that he has been living on the land for a year, and as far as I know, his parents have not come to look for him. So that's where I'm at with this one. I am enjoying it. The writing is enthralling. I am drawn into the story. I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends. This is another one I've been reading, The Hiding Place. This book I read for the first time, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, and I really enjoyed this book, which it's a very sad book, so it's hard to say that you enjoyed a book, but I learned so much from this book, and I learned so much from these people and this family about their faith and how important it is to build a community and be there for people when they need you the most. And right now I am about 3 chapters in. I should be farther, but we had a birthday celebration yesterday for me, so I didn't read anything yesterday. but I plan on sitting down this afternoon and just kind of diving into these. But this, so far, we're learning about this clock shop that her dad owns. It was her grandfather's shop as well, and they are celebrating the 100th birthday of the shop. Um, Now, Corey ten Boom at this time is 45, and it's right at the beginning of all of the things that led up to World War II. So they've been hearing about Hitler, and they've been hearing about Hitler, and they've been hearing rumors that Jewish people have been having their businesses shut down and all of this, but they are hopeful that their country will not be involved in the war. And right now they're just living their life. Um, but what I love about this book is that Corey ten Boom tells the story, and she talks about her family and all of the things that are going on, but she also leaves hints of the future in there, and she'll say things like, little did I know um, this happy moment would be shadowed by all these terrible things. And it's just, I think this book is very important for us as Christians to realize that we may not always have the freedom that we have now. This family didn't know that they were going to go through the Holocaust and helping Jewish families and then being imprisoned themselves. They had no idea. They couldn't even imagine any of these things that happened. And I think it's just important for us to keep in mind that one day life may not be what we thought it was going to be. And the things that you can learn from books like this is how to keep your faith in God during those types of scenarios. And one thing that I truly have learned from this is, what do I need to teach my children? One thing that I love about Corey ten Boom's parents is that they taught their children about God, and that in every scenario they reminded them of who God was and the faith that we should have in Christ. And because of that faith that they placed into their children's lives, they were able to go into a terrible situation trusting in God and finding his blessings even in the worst of scenarios. So I am really enjoying rereading this book. It's reminding me of all the things that I learned the first time, and yeah, this is a really good one. If you haven't read it, I really suggest you pick it up because it's hard to read because it's sad in some places, but it is a very good book. Okay, and the other one I've been reading is A Little Princess. This is just bringing back all of the feels for me. So I loved the movie growing up. I watched it over and over and over again. And while the book is slightly different in the end, most of the story is pretty close to the movie. And so reading the beginning of the book just kind of brings back all of that love for the movie that I had. Right now, we're learning about the different students that Sarah is meeting and getting to know, and their personalities. And I am just loving getting to know these characters again and picking up things in the story that I might have missed the last time. So by far, I think out of all three of these books, I'm enjoying this one the most just because it just makes my heart happy. It is a very, very nostalgic read for me. and it's doing everything that I wanted for this readathon, so I'm excited that I picked this one. Okay, so while I've not reread these books, these few books, either when I think about the story, they bring me nostalgic feelings, or when I look at them, I think about when I bought them and how special that time was. And so I'm just going to go through them very quickly and tell you about them. But before I do, I want to tell you what the hidden emoji is. So, because this book here has a flower on it, I would like you to post in the comments below a flower emoji. In order to enter the drawing for the $25 giveaway, you will have had to comment your 3 nostalgic reads for this week in the video that I posted on Sunday, which I will post here so that you can go and do that if you haven't yet. And then for this video, you'll have this hidden flower emoji, and then for the video that I will post at the end of the week with my wrap up, there will also be a hidden emoji there as well, and you will need to post that one so that you can enter the drawing. So I'm going to get on with these books so that we can get through this video and enjoy the rest of our reading day, because I know that a whole week to read 3 books is very little time. So I've got some reading to do, and I know you have some reading to do as well. Okay, so I am going to start with the very first book that I read completely through. So growing up, I was not a reader. I was homeschooled, and we read our textbooks for our schooling. And I just really didn't want to read in my free time because I spent so much time reading for school, and I just was not interested in it. But I did pick this book up. I'm not real sure when. I think I was maybe 14 or 15, and I just fell in love with the writing, and I finished it from beginning to end. It made me cry. I still think about this book today. I definitely need to reread it soon because some of the details are hazy, but it is so good. So this is The Bluebird and the Sparrow by Jeanette Oke. So I know a lot of women these days have a hard time with Jeanette Oke because some of her books are like cheesy romance. Sometimes Christian romance can be unbelievable and just tough to get through, but this is not a romance based book. This is a book about 2 sisters. The oldest sister is very prim and proper, and her younger sister has always been prettier and just loved by everybody and liked by everybody. And during their lives, the older sister, whose name is Berta, she has kind of developed this resentment and jealousy toward her little sister, and she has built up these walls to where she is not going to be affectionate. She's not going to be anything like her little sister because she's so tired of hearing about her little sister. So this story just follows them throughout their life, but the main thing that I remember about this book is Berta's relationship with her sister's children and how she wanted to keep them at arm's length, but deep down inside she really felt this love and affection towards them, but because she wanted to keep this facade that she had built for so long, she really just kind of pushed them away. And if I told you like the main thing that struck me, I would give you spoilers, so I'm not going to do that. But this book made me cry, and I still remember the story to this day, and it has been, I want to say, at least 17 years since I read this. And so, yeah, this one brings me nostalgic feelings when I look at the book because I remember the story. And I definitely need to reread it because it has had a big place in my heart for so long. Okay, so another one that I really love, and I actually didn't own it, so I had to buy it recently, is called Across the Years. I read this in my early 20s, and it is by Tracy Peterson. And she is another one that I think people have a hard time with, but for some reason, I just really enjoy her writing. It's not, I wouldn't say that her writing is the best, and I've definitely read books that I felt were written better, but for some reason I just really get this cozy feeling when I read her books, and this is one that really stuck with me for a long time. This book is about a woman who falls in love. Her family does not like her husband, and she ends up having a baby, and then he is killed in an accident. And she ends up moving to Arizona and working as a Harvey girl at one of the hotels down there that is historic to the area. Um, I'm not sure when this is set. I think it's in the early 1900s. But one thing I like about Tracy Peterson is some of her series are not necessarily connected together, but they are about women that are in that space in history. So this particular set of books, there's three of them. They're called Desert Roses, and they are all about these women that worked at this Harvey hotel, and they are called Harvey Girls. But their stories are not connected in any way other than the fact that they work in these hotels that are in Arizona at this time. So this book follows this woman and her daughter, and how much her daughter really wants a father, and how much this woman loves her husband that has passed away and can't seem to get over him. And then this man comes into town, and the little girl just falls in love with this guy, and she thinks that her mom needs to have a relationship with him, but she doesn't want to because she's in love with this man that has died. And she starts seeing things that remind her of her husband in this man. And it is a amazing story. There's an amazing twist that I didn't see coming, but I loved it when it did come. And I think you would enjoy reading this book if you just want a cozy, feel-good, happy love story that is Christian and clean and heartfelt. This book you may have heard me talk about if you have been subscribed to my channel for very long, and it is Great Expectations. I have actually never finished this book, but this book I have owned since I was 16 years old, and the reason why this brings me nostalgic feelings is because I bought it on an amazing trip that I got to take when I was 16. So my aunt and uncle lived in Seattle, Washington, for most of my childhood. And when I was 16, or when I was 15 actually, I just really wanted to go and see them. We lived in Texas, they lived in Seattle, and we just didn't get to see them very often. And the thing that I wanted so much for my 16th birthday was to go visit them. And out of such amazing kindness, they paid, and I'm gonna cry for some reason. Um, they paid for me to go see them for a month. My mom and my grandmother got to go, and I bought this book on that trip. And so that's why I can't get rid of it, even though I've never read it. That's why that I want to read this book, because I bought that on that trip and it reminds me of the trip every time I look at the book. One day I will finish this. I think this next year I'm going to stop trying to sit down and read this in the same space that I read other books, and I'm just going to like split it up for the whole year and try to read a little bit at a time, and then maybe I can finish it. But I really want to finish this because it has such a special place in my heart. That was one of the most amazing experiences in my life, one of the most special birthday gifts I've ever been given. And so this has a very special and nostalgic place when I look at this book, even though I've never finished the book. Another book that I bought as a teenager is The Best Loved Poems of the American People. When I was a teenager, all of my friends and I were really into poetry. We loved to write poetry and read poetry, and so I really wanted a book of poetry for myself. I remember going into, I think it was Hastings that I bought this in, and just looking around and trying to find a poetry book that I could have. One of the things that I really loved to do was just go through here and find a poem that I loved, and then I would just copy it down and write it in a journal of mine. But yeah, this brings me nostalgic feelings because it makes me remember all of my friends and I and our obsession with poetry at the time, even though now as an adult I'm not that into poetry. But for some reason at the time, when I was around 16 or 17, my friends and we were all into poetry, and so this is a special book of mine. Okay, and the last book that I'm going to talk about, I actually just read last year, but it still brings me nostalgic feelings when I think about it and when I look at it, because I remember sitting outside in at the beginning of fall where the weather was so nice, reading this book while my kids played at the park. And I think I'll always have that image of it when I see it. And plus I love the story, but this is In Another Girl's Shoes by Berta Ruck. This is one of my favorite books of all time. You can see I literally marked at least 3 things on every page. I mean, yeah, just about every page has something marked on it because it was so good. This is a classic. It was written in 1916, and it is about a woman who is, she's trying to find a new career. She's on the train and she's headed to be the governess of this family that lives in the country, and her she has a coach ticket, but coach is full, so she gets put into a train car that is like a private, I don't even know what the term is, but it's like a private room, yeah, where people that were, first class passengers could ride on. And she ends up meeting this very eccentric woman who is going home to meet her late husband's family, who she's never met before. Her husband was in the military and they were only married for a couple of weeks, and she just doesn't feel like her new family is going to like her eccentricities. She is an actress and she doesn't really have a lot of compassion for the fact that this family lost their son, and she doesn't really care that she lost her husband. And she decides that it would be a great idea for her and our main character, Rose, to switch places. And she would take on the role of the governess, and Rose, could go and take her place and be this man's uh, widow. And so, yeah, all of the stuff that goes along with this lie that this woman wants to tell. What's really funny is Rose is not okay at all with this, but she kind of gets shoved out of the train at the stop that she's supposed to be at, and everybody just assumes that she is this man's wife, and even though she tells them that she's not, they think she's having like a breakdown, and so they're like, okay, you're not his wife, and they just go along with it even though they really think she is his wife. And it's just funny. It's heartwarming, funny. I loved this book so much, and I know that for years to come this will be a very nostalgic book to look at and also to reread. So that is my video for today. If you have some books like this that either bring back amazing memories of times in your life, or the stories have stuck with you for so long, I would love to hear about them. Please comment below with these books and stories about them, because that is just intriguing to me. I would love to hear your stories. If you're a booktuber, feel free to take this idea on. Even if you didn't join in the read-a-thon, I would love to be shown all the books that bring you nostalgic feelings and hear the stories behind why they're nostalgic. I think it would be a really good opportunity for you to give some recommendations, but also for us to hear some amazing stories about your life. So anyway, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Don't forget, if you're wanting to join in on the giveaway, to comment below with a flower emoji so that you can be entered into the $25 giveaway. And I will see you soon in the next video.